FPUC is back in the third stimulus package. In the first stimulus package, it was $600 a week from March to July. In the second stimulus package, it was $300 a week from January to March. Now, the third stimulus package proposes March to August at $400 a week. Not particularly clear what's going on. And ultimately, the push is still underway from FPUC Retro. Push, 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 Purple Power. Go on social media, take this video and share it, and push for FPUC Retro. In this Overnight LA video, I explain FPUC Retro, UI, PUA, and Escalate benefits, and how to get it and how to certify for benefits. Enjoy this Overnight LA video on FPUC and FPUC Retro. New economists come on board and argue in favor of $600 a week for FPUC. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons with LA Late. Hope you're good and safe. This is an update about FPUC. That's $600 from the federal government, which goes on top of UI and PUA benefits, which has expired. Currently, about 23 million Americans are not getting their benefits because they have expired. That's on top of nearly 40% of Americans are facing eviction, and two parties can't seem to get it right. Where are we minutes ago? Well, new updates this afternoon since this morning's broadcast. The Republicans are back with another idea, and the idea was shot down by Democrats once again. The idea was to pass an emergency bill, but the emergency bill is not $600 a week. The emergency bill was $200 a week. The Democrats said no way, no how. If you don't recall, earlier this week, the Republicans and the Democrats battled over the issue of unemployment assistance. It's a topic so clear that broadcast news is leading with it morning, noon, and night. What's not clear is the calculation and where the problems go off the track. Let me recap. The Democrats proposed $600 per week to continue uninterrupted all the way into 2021 on top of your UI and PUA benefits. The Republicans proposed something that's a little bit more complicated that has been misreported left and right. They proposed $200 per week for each week of the month of August. But then after that, that states would have to pay you 70% of your employed rate during the pandemic based upon 2019 earnings and make that calculation on their computers. I can't even say it with a straight face. Okay, here is everything that is not apparently working for the Republicans, but actually in the end working for you. The movement towards $600 a week across the board is more likely than ever because states have been raising their hands and say, wait a second, we have told you, Republicans, we can't do that. Why can't they do that? Let me back up. States administer the $600. They don't fund it, but they send it out to you. How do they send it out to you? Well, they had to, during the CARES Act, in the first stimulus package, go back to their computer systems and put in there a part of the computer system that adds the line item of $600. To make it even clear to you, when this channel first launched and we were doing FPUC videos, people said to me, LA, why does it not say $600 inside the portal for my UI application? It was because in some states, their computer systems were so antiquated, they couldn't even get a line item of $600 put on the screen. They just sent it out. They literally could not modify something on a web page because that would take them ages. Other states actually had worse problems. Other states couldn't even figure out how to send out the $600. So some states didn't even launch FPUC for months, which a lot of these congressmen seem to not recall or seem to want to forget intentionally. States didn't get out $600 on April 27th across the board. This channel launched on, I think it was April 25th, 2 days before FPUC came into law. And we advised people how to apply on that day. When it went live on April 27th, only a few states had the ability to even process the application. Those are states, including California, which actually had a very good computer system ready to go and had made the modifications. The other states didn't. Weeks went on and other states hadn't even been able to get their computer systems going to put a single line item of $600. So what are the Republicans now proposing? They're proposing that those computer systems, which have now removed the $600 line item, to go back and put a $200 line item for 4 weeks, tell the computer it's a 4-week line item, then go back and modify the computer again and do this. Take 2019 earnings, take the 2019 earnings, times it by 70%, do a calculation, cross it, and make sure it's not $500. States are just looking at their like, we don't have computers that do that, sir. We've told you that for months, and they have no ability to do the calculation. Moreover, they've actually told Steve Mnuchin, we don't know what people's 2019 earnings are. State unemployment offices don't know what your 2019 earnings are. They know what your employer is paying you based upon payroll taxes. So when states are doing, for example, let's say they're doing PUA, unemployment benefits for independent contractors, they don't know how much the independent contractor made from some third-party source. They don't have that. So there is literally no mechanism for the Republicans to issue their unemployment benefits. And as everyone has now said, that come September 1st, states are going to go like this, we're not sending out a penny. In fact, the Republicans know that's the situation, have put a provision in their bill that says, if you can't send it, don't worry, don't send anything. Well, that situation is apparently very glim. And so now negotiations have really pushed back towards $600 across the board. But what's making it even more problematic is the following. This afternoon, Mitch McConnell, who simply doesn't know what his left shoe from his right shoe lately, said that, we have an emergency for unemployment assistance after he said he didn't even want to give it to you a few weeks ago. And he says, we need to have an emergency bill. Let's do it right now. Democrats said, no, we're not doing an emergency bill to give $200 to people per week. You can wait and get this entire package done together. But a new report minutes ago says that this inability of Republicans to understand that 70% unemployment benefits, $200 a week, would potentially cause financial ruin to this economy for over a decade. It's that serious. As you know, the GDP number was released today. It dropped 32.9%, the worst drop since the Great Depression of the 1930s. New jobless claims were released today. 19th consecutive week of unemployment claims over 1 million. It sat at 1.43 million this week. New jobless claims, unemployed people. It now reports that 40% of Americans are facing eviction moratoriums, are facing eviction from their homes because they can't pay their bills. But the situation is far more dim. Chris Rupley, who's a chief of financial economist at MUFG Union Bank, says, if you don't throw enough unemployment benefits on the fire right now, it just seems like the road ahead is going to be very, very long to get back to where we were. And it might be 3 to 4 years until this economy is back to normal, because this Congress is giving too little stimulus, too slow, and too late. Economists say that the labor market is really in a critical situation now. And it says that we have had now unemployment rates that they have never seen, in almost 75 years. The latest data comes with new report that $1 trillion of fiscal package spending is not enough. The labor market still remains front and center, says Gregory Farinello, chief U.S. rates analyst at Amerivect Securities. The bond market is pricing the number of variables, and the weakness on the job front is whether or not we get the extension of claims benefits. So they're saying, hey, we're making adjustments to where we think the economy will go based upon the hope we're getting $600 a week. If we don't even get that, they're saying it's going to be very, very serious. Treasury and the Federal Reserve says that they're hoping that unemployment benefits are extended at where they are now and drop to the interest rates around to 0%. But that's based upon this bill getting passed, which is not even being passed. Continuing claims ticked up, and the initial claims are still very high. The areas getting hit are the areas that continue to struggle with the virus, says Farinello. But as more states, have rebounds of COVID-19 cases, the spread of economic despair continues. Powell says that consumer spending fell off incredibly. Well, hello, they're not giving stimulus. They're not being given stimulus. Diane Swak, who's the chief economist at Grant Thornton, says we should gain. The question is how big a gain? Is it enough to lift us out of this recession? The most important message is that there's nothing traditional about this crisis. And even if we see a double-digit gain in the third quarter, we're dealing with the worst unemployment since we've seen the Great Depression. So why is Congress so stingy? They are literally risking a lot. Let me go over where we are as to this risk game. I don't like to gamble. Some people love to go to Las Vegas and play craps and blackjack. I just don't like to gamble. I just don't like, losing one time. Well, apparently this Congress loves to gamble. Doing $200 a week is a big gamble, and it doesn't work. I'll tell you why. You're saying that you're going to give people 70% of their pre-pandemic employment salary and telling them to come up on their own accord with the remaining 30%. Where? Where are people going to come up with that remaining 30%? From their savings accounts, which they've now diluted because you didn't give them a stimulus check or multiple stimulus checks, or you gave them that measly $1,200 stimulus check? The presumption that Americans can come up with the remaining 30% is malfeasance. But what's even worse is that in a time of economic despair, you don't give stimulus at below parity, which is below 100%. You give it above 100%. You don't undercompensate or understimulate. You overstimulate, because the risk for understimulating is that the rebound of the economy might never occur at all, or that the rebound would take years and years and years to occur. Basically said, to make it in very simple terms, if you don't throw enough money on the fire, everything is going to get very, very worse and take a lot longer to get better. But if you throw a lot of money, and potentially maybe more money than you had to, everything gets back to better faster. Everyone's employers reopen their doors. Employers have jobs open. Businesses survive. There's jobs to go back to. And we rebound. It's even also more important to understand where we are in this timeline, which a lot of economists are talking about today, especially with FPUC. When you're talking about what this economy will be after the pandemic, after the vaccine, well, if businesses are shut down forever, lost, those jobs are lost. If airlines lay off 50,000 new employees every week, those airlines could no longer be there. They may have to merge. Companies will shut their doors. Businesses will never be rebound. Small American businesses will be lost forever. I mean, this channel has been helping small American businesses with EIDL grants and loans. I know the situation. I know a lot of businesses have been lost because of Javita Carranza and her ineptitude. But if you do that upon a broad level, that when we're out of the pandemic and we're healthy and we have a vaccine, we won't have those places to go back to work. Goldman Sachs chief economist said that the composition of the GDP report was just not good. While the inventory drag is likely to reverse in Q3, the path of the virus remains the dominant driver, and the near-term growth outlook is not good. Exports fell more rapidly than imports. It was a global phenomenon. Other countries were shutting down before we were. You can't really put it in the context of other recessions. You look at jobless claims and you're seeing us stalling out. The Fed is right. There is a significant downside risk to the economy. And that pulling back spending, knocking enough stimulus is very risky. It's going to be a lot slower of a recovery than a third quarter bounce, which is yes. Claims kind of stalling out, coupled with Powell's comments, will get people kind of gearing up for next week's employment report. Of course, you know what I'm going to say. If political parties are sitting back and not passing a stimulus package this week because they're waiting for next week's employment report, which is not an unemployment report, it's an employment report based upon temporary jobs, part-time jobs. If they're going to wait and hold off on FPUC to see that employment report and then spin it and say, oh, it's all so great, yeah, we see where this is going. Unemployment claims are set to fall at 65% for the average person by July 31st. Yes. Democrats and Republicans simply can't get a number, and people are waiting for the numbers to be called at an unemployment event in Tulsa, Oklahoma overnight. The household finances of more than 30 million Americans collecting benefits are on the line. They're not getting a penny. Negotiations are not being helpful in delaying the situation. Ultimately, the spirit of this channel is to keep you informed and keep you educated, but I'm also to inform you that, this group is a hot mess. I'm not being political, but this channel has always had one spirit: love and helping one another. As I fix my collar, not bad timing there. But this channel's focus has always been love and helping one another. And this Congress has done very little with helping people. They allowed FPUC to be scheduled to expire while they're on vacation. And then when they come back from vacation, they do little, if nothing, to get it ramped up. During that entire process, they slam you and disparage you, saying that you're staying at home because you want to stay at home, that you're staying home and getting rich on FPUC benefits, that you're staying home and creating a welfare state. You were name attacked everywhere you could by this congressional body. And you sat back and said, I don't have a job. Meantime, there were Republicans that simply were just, talking through rose-colored glasses, saying the American economy's back and there's big jobs and everyone's a job and everyone's rich and everyone's working. Not true. You had Mr. Portman, Senator Portman, and your Senator Bradley said, we'll give a bonus to get people back to work because they're not getting back to work. They're intentionally staying at home. No one's staying at home, sirs. People don't have jobs. The economic numbers are so apparent, 19 week of 1 million unemployment claims, and you're sitting back saying people are intentionally staying at home. You have Steve Mnuchin, who's Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump, saying that we can't give people 100% of the benefits. We'll just give them 50% or 70% of their benefits. Why? 70% of benefits does not make some people whole. Ultimately, they're risking not your financial livelihood, but also the financial future of this economy. If you have questions today's broadcast, drop them below. Coming up later today on Afternoons with LA Late is Rent Assistance. And then this evening is Evenings with LA Late. As always, stay in tune, stay informed, and stay motivated. Thank you for joining this morning on Mornings with LA Late blockbuster video. We're doing about 1 million views every 48 hours. Follow us on Twitter at LA Late and LA Late _ on Instagram, LA Late News on Facebook, and have a great evening.